Hey guys, B&W Best Life here. Another video. I know it's been a little while, but I'm making some more content here, and I want to talk about, because it's October, I want to talk about coho fishing and trying to time river flows for coho. Oh my goodness, this is a topic, right? There's so many things we could cover on this topic. Lots of meat on this bone. If you've been fishing rivers for coho long enough, you've encountered a situation that will cause you to absolutely pull your hair out, maybe throw all your tackle in the river, maybe consider dynamite, or maybe consider, illegal snagging, which we don't condone on here. That's no good. Don't do that. But you know what I'm talking about. The lockjaw coho situation. Big, bright, beautiful coho that you can see in the drift. They're rolling around. You're getting excited. Oh, in about a couple hours into it, you're like, oh man, this we haven't had a bite yet. They're rolling, you lose track of time, you make cast after cast after cast, and they're just rolling around. You're like, we've tried eggs, we've tried spinners, we've tried twitching jigs, we're throwing beads, everything. What's going on, right? That's what we're talking about today. The lockjaw coho situation.
I don't know that it gets much brighter.
River fishing for coho, and specifically what the water flow movement is all about, and predicting which one of these suckers is going to bite and how to target them. So, all right, my friends know I'm obsessed with looking at river flows during this time of the year, right? I wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, I check the weather, and I refresh all my favorite river gauges, and I go, okay, all right, let's see what's happening, right? How much water did they get? We going up? We going down? How high did we get to? Because I'm trying to plan the perfect coho excursion, right? I want to time it perfectly. The coast, some of these rivers are an hour and a half, 2.5 hours away, and I don't want to be driving all the way out there wasting my time. So I'm trying to plan the perfect trip by looking at the computer screen and my phone screen, trying to figure it out. Because look, the river flows don't just determine like how a river fishes and the clarity and all of that. That's important. It also tells you about the run of fish and the scenarios, right? What I'm talking about is like, every tide when the run is on, every tide change, you got fish that are coming into the river, and they're these coho, they'll shoot up river at kind of a decent pace if the water flows are there. But a lot of times what happens is the water flows aren't there if it hasn't rained in a little while, right? And so they stack up in the tidal areas, the lower parts of the river, places where they've got decent pools and deep areas, and those can be great places to target when it hasn't rained in a while, right? You get those fresh fishing on the tide, throwing spinners or eggs. They can be great biters. If you get the wrong tide, though, you'll find the lockjaw situation again, where fish have been stacked there and they're not biting very well, and it can be kind of frustrating. But when the rains come and the water rises, the fish are going to shoot up river. And what's important to realize, though, is that let's say the fish have been stacking in that lower section for a week. The fish that arrived a week ago and just stayed there, we'll call these the late fish, right? Their biological clock is ticking, are going to act differently than the fish that just arrived on that last tide and have only been there for a short period of time. So when the water comes up, all these fish are going to go upriver, but the ones, and you're like, okay, cool, I got this perfect spot way upriver, and I'm going to time the river flows. I'm going to intercept these fish. Well, if you're too early, one, you might not have the water clarity you want, but two, the first fish that are going to arrive up there are going to be these I call them late fish, right? They've been sitting around the lower water for low part of the river for a long time, and their biological clock is ticking, and they're not very motivated to bite. They're definitely not going to bite if they're traveling. Like, let's say you pick a spot where it's not quite, they're not quite holding there, they're just traveling through, right? Maybe as the river drops, they'll start to hold there better. But if you're too early, you're going to get really frustrated targeting those traveling, urgent, like late biological clock fish that are just screaming through. They're like, I'm getting upriver to spawn. I only got so much time. Not going to slow down. They don't care about your eggs or your spinner or whatever you're throwing at them. They're just going to blow right on through. Now, wait a little bit longer as the river's dropping. Those bright fish that just showed up to the lower river, they're like, I got time, right? I'm going upriver, I'm taking my time. And if you find those fish, if you intercept those fish, they're great biters, especially if you find them holding, right? But even when they're traveling, you can get a few to go, although not as good as holding fish. And this might be obvious to some of you, but if you're new to this, it's important to realize the best biters are fish that recently arrived in a place and they're holding, right? Their senses are alert. Stuff is going past them and they're interested, right? A fish that has been holding in the same spot for 24 hours is dramatically less interested in everything going on around them. They're almost like in this mode, right? Where they're just not, they don't care what you're throwing at them, right? And they're just ignoring it entirely. So it's really important to time the river drop and the water dropping in a way that you intercept fish where they're moving up and they're stopping and they're resting in a good holding spot, right? And you can do that by looking at river flows and keeping a journal of past times that you've gone in different spots, and the way that the way that the river and the fish act on different river flow levels is going to tell you and teach you over time how to plan and time the perfect trip. But you've got to be paying attention to these variables so you know how to repeat your success. If you figure it out, you'll know how to do it again and again and again. You can get those late fish to bite too, but they gotta slow down first. They gotta hold. As soon as I have had this happen to me, as you're fishing a spot, fish are blowing through, and as soon as the river drops enough, these fish, they slow down and they hold, right? And as soon as that happens, it's game on, and you start catching fish. One thing, when fish are holding and they're in kind of schooled up together, they actually will get competitive for the offering. So you'll go from no bites to wham, 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 one after another, and the salmon slaying is on. And that can happen for both these kind of more colored up late fish as well as the bright sort of on time fish that are taking their time. As long as they just recently started holding in a new area, you're gonna have good fishing. So that's the key. That's the key to figure out here. In terms of methods, again, I have preferences. Some of you all might have different experiences. But when I'm targeting traveling fish, usually I'm trying to throw eggs in a travel lane under a bobber. I might be covering water. Let's say you're doing it from a boat, right? You're covering traveling spots and you're tossing blue fox spinners, right? Have wide attracting range, right? They can see it from 10, 15 feet away. That big size 5, size 6 blade spinning through there, right? You're gonna those fish that are interested in biting, they're gonna see that spinner from a long way off, and you're gonna get bit. I like twitching jigs as well, but I tend to think of twitching jigs as more something I'm going to use for holding fish. It works for traveling fish too, but I'm thinking holding fish. It's really deadly to work through areas with twitching jigs. Bobber and jig works great on holding fish too. Another thought is plunking for traveling fish, right? Get the spin fish out, fill it with some tuna, plunk that sucker, and see what happens. Throw it in a travel lane, coho, bite spin fish really, really, really well. So that can be a great technique as well. The bottom line is your river flows are telling you what to do, how to approach this. If it hasn't rained in a while, you go lower. When it rains a lot, you gotta go higher, right? Something in between, you go middle, right? That's how. And don't try to be the first one on the river. A lot of times, one, you might not get the clarity, but two, you might not get the biting fish if they're blowing through there and they're the biologically motivated fish. 2-3 days sometimes after that water starts, after it peaks, could be primo to go find those bright on time fish. So they say don't leave fish to find fish, and that's largely true. I practice that with most fishing situations. I don't practice when it comes to coho though, man. Leave lockjaw coho to find biting coho. Screw that. No lockjaw coho. They'll drive you crazy. You won't get anything from the experience. Move on, right? Just go find another. There's other fish somewhere else that are biting more than likely. If you sit there telling yourself, "Don't leave fish to find fish," don't leave fish to find fish after 4 or 5 hours, you're done. So, yeah, that's my take on it. Maybe you have a different take. Feel free to correct me in the comments. There's so much more that can be shared about this. What questions do you have? what observations do you have, right, on this topic? I might do a members only video on this if there's a lot of interest and questions there's so many deeper topics that kind of branch off from this one that we could get into about how exactly to be successful in this. But let me know, right? Let me know what you're thinking, and drop me a comment, hit me up, and we'll figure it out. Hopefully I get some more content out here as I'm doing a little more fishing. Still hunting going on too. There's a lot going on, so I'm doing my best. Thanks for being a subscriber and supporting my channel. And drop me a like, comment, whatever. I'll see you out there, hopefully on the water and the right water situation. And say hi. I love meeting you all when you all say hi or whatever, and we chat it up. So good luck out there. Catch some coho, catch some chum. It's almost chum time. It's almost time for chumpocalypse. Have a great one.